Well, hello again, my friends, and welcome once more to the Invisible College. Um, Today, I want to talk in. I want to have a different approach. We're going to talk. We're going to have a little story time. Yes, that's the best way to put it. Um, I'm going to tell you a tale, something that actually happened to me, and then we're going to compare it with another familiar story that I'm sure you've all heard of, which is the story of Aladdin and his lamp. And then we'll look into the real truth, which goes beyond both what I heard and what the story has to tell us. So anyway, this happened some time ago. It's back in about 97, I think it was. And I was in Canada at the time, in the city of Montreal, where I was attending a conference, and I was giving a lecture there. I've lectured all over the place: Canada, USA, South Africa, Europe, even on cruise ships. I've done a lot of lecturing, and this time I was in Canada, and it was fun. It was really fun, and I really enjoyed Montreal as a city. A fascinating place if you ever get the chance to go there. Little bit of France in the middle of the American continent. If you want to find out what France is like and you can't afford to cross the Atlantic, I suggest you go out to Montreal. I'm talking about the Americans here. Go and see what it's like. It's very similar in many respects. Anyway, I gave my lecture and conference, and then afterwards I was approached by a gentleman. He's Egyptian, and I think he was even quite royalty. I think I'm right in saying that. I don't remember full details, but I think he was actually, because they used to have a king in Egypt until Nasser deposed him. I think it was 56, 55, deposed King Farouk, and so I guess there's still a royal family. Distant relatives, cousins, nephews, who knows what, in Egypt. Anyway, this guy's a very nice man, very, very, very gentle, very pleasant person. And we had lunch together, and he told me an incredible story. In the course of our discussions, he told me that his family had a genie. Like you expect. I thought, what's he on about? A genie? Come on. And yes, he said, yes, we have a genie. And he had witnessed times when the genie had been used to bring plates of food, for guests, and the plates would come flying through the window and line up around. Everyone gets what they want. Very similar, actually, to the story we get in the Arthurian legends about the Holy Grail appearing in the table, and it feeds all the knights. I talked about this in, I think, my last lecture, or last but one. All the knights get fed with their favourite food. And then, of course, the Grail disappears again, and they realise that they've got to go and find the Grail. They've got to bring it back. It's disappeared, and because it's disappeared, Britain has become a wasteland. In fact, that did actually happen in the 6th century. There was a comet strike, which produced darkness all over the sort of northern hemisphere, and Britain was particularly badly affected. Got hit by fragments from this comet, and depopulated. It caused disease and plague, and there were invasions, and it was a big time of trouble. I've written a lot about that in my book, The Holy Kingdom. This is contained in certain Welsh documents, which are closely researched by my friends Alan Wilson and Baron Blackett. So you find something in there about all that. It's not talked about in history books, generally speaking, they ignore the Yellow Plague. But this was a very big event in what we would call the Dark Ages, and one reason why there was a Dark Age, and why we call it the Dark Age. Anyway, that's a digression. Anyway, he told me he had a genie, or his family had a genie. And he said, oh yes, we sat at a test once. I don't know if it was him who set the test, or I think it might have been him himself. And told the genie that to bring back a can of Coca-Cola, ice cold, but it had to be from Hong Kong. It had to have the Chinese writing on the can to prove that it'd come from Hong Kong. And the genie had said, well, okay, I need $1. Now, I presume he must have been able to see this genie, otherwise he wouldn't be able to sort of hand him $1. Gave him $1 anyway, and went off. And then some while later, some genie appears again, and there's the can of Coke. And sure enough, it's ice cold, and it's got Chinese writing on it. And he's shocked. And he says to the genie, he says, oh, why did you need the $1? And he said, well, I've got to pay the boy in the boat that's selling them. You know, you don't want to steal it from him, do you? And yeah, the little boats in the harbour that at that time, we're talking, I think probably this would have happened in the 1970s, that you have to pay for the Coke. And he said he took this can and it's still in his fridge. He wouldn't dare drink it or open it. Perhaps another genie might pop out, who knows? Right, so the story of the genie, I mean, is something that goes right through mythology. This idea of genies. In Arabic they call them jinns. And actually you find them talked about in the Quran. I believe I'm right in saying that Muhammad is supposed to have power over jinns as well as humans. So what are they, and why would that concern us, and what would that have to do with us? Well, I want to take you back to the story of Aladdin. And if you don't know Aladdin, if you're British, you may even have gone to see a pantomime of Aladdin. Now that's something we have here in Britain. I don't know if it's done anywhere else. We have these comedy plays put on for children, usually in January, and they have a certain format. They're always based on fairy tales like Jack and the Beanstalk or Cinderella or Puss in Boots. You know, they're standard stories, children's stories, and Aladdin is one of them. And one of the things, the tropes, you could say, of these pantomimes is you have certain characters. We're always going to have a certain type of character appearing. There's always the evil bad guy who creeps up on the good guy, the hero, from behind, and the children shout out, he's behind you, he's behind you. And he says, what are you saying? I can't hear. Then they shout out even louder, he's behind you, he's behind. And then of course, as soon as he turns around, the villain has moved away. That's one trope. You find that in all pantomimes. And another one is there's always at least one middle-aged woman played by a man. There's quite often two. We call them pantomime dames. And it's hilarious. You see these men, they might even have a beard or something, and they're talking in a sort of womanish voice. Hey, what are you up to now, Doris? You know, and so they're sort of clowns, comedy characters, and of course the children love it. They absolutely love it. And the hero, the young man, is nearly always played by a young woman. So there she is. She's usually sort of wearing a very short dress with tights, so all the dads can sort of admire her legs. These are kind of tropes that they have in. But you know, this is the pantomime version. But of course, it's based on a real story, which is contained in the 1001 Nights. Well, I won't go into that. But the story goes that Aladdin, this poor boy, he's an uncle turns up. His father's dead, and he lives with his mother, Widow Twanky. It's actually originally comes from China, this pantomime, or the story of Aladdin. And the uncle says he wants to help the family. He wants to do good for them. He just needs Aladdin to come with him to carry out a certain task, and they'll find some treasure, and then they'll bring it back, and that'll be great. So they go off into the desert, and they find this cave, and the magician, he's actually a magician, this uncle. He casts a spell and opens up a portal and says to Aladdin, go down in that cave there, and you'll find a lamp there. Pour out the oil and bring me the lamp, and then we'll go home. So Aladdin goes down, and sure enough, there's the lamp, and he takes the lamp and he pours out the oil, and the magician's shouting, give it to me, give it to me. And Aladdin, something in him tells him he shouldn't do that. So eventually the magician gets really angry, and he casts another spell and seals Aladdin in there. Well, Aladdin's sort of on his own, and so he polishes his lamp, and out pops a genie. And the genie says, Master, I can do at your command. And Aladdin says, oh, get me out of here, get me out of here. So the genie gets him out of there, finds himself back home with the lamp. So other things happen. He wants to marry a princess. It turns out the uncle is the vizier of the king, and he wants to marry the princess, and he wants the lamp because he wants riches. But anyway, I thought we'd talk a little bit about that. And actually, I have a nice little Aladdin-style lamp here. Actually, it's a teapot, to be honest with you, but it looks very much like an Aladdin lamp, doesn't it? And so, it can polish the lamp to make it burnished and shining, silvery. And in that form, that's when the genie is going to come out. But what's that really all about? Well, the lamp represents the ancient wisdom, and it actually represents the head, the mind. And if you sharpen the mind, polish it, work with it, develop it, then you achieve certain other powers of cognition, powers of intuition, powers of clairvoyance. And this actually symbolizes working with traditional techniques to awaken your higher potential. See, when we're normally in our ordinary lives, you go to school, you learn subjects in school, you maybe go to university, then you have a job, and 9 times out of 10, you don't really think too much about self-development. You might have a religion. If you do, then you go to church on Sunday, or synagogue if you're Jewish on a Saturday, or mosque on a Friday if you're Muslim, or go to temple if you're a Buddhist or a Hindu. You might be doing those things, but you probably have been taught that as long as you just follow the party line, do what you're told, keep your nose clean, you'll go to heaven. That's kind of how it's taught to you. It's only when you start questioning that you begin to realize that there's more to this than I'm being told, that they're not telling me the truth. They're not revealing things to me. They don't know as much as they're making out they know. I need to go on a quest to find the truth. I need to find the real knowledge. That happened to me. And I think I've told you this story before. When I was a young man, I started doing yoga. I realized how unfit I was, and it seemed like a good thing to do. And this was back in 1970, I think, and the whole yoga craze hadn't developed then. There were very, very few books on yoga. There were no classes you could go to anywhere. So I just bought a Penguin book on yoga, looked at what the postures were supposed to be, and started doing some of them. And then I bought another book BKS Iyengar's light on yoga and started doing it more seriously. And then one day I was on a beach and I was sitting down and I was quietly meditating to myself. And suddenly I was, awakened and suddenly had this cosmic experience of the oneness of everything, that the sand was one, that the sea was part, they were all parts of this great being, this enormous being we could call God. I was part of it. My friends who were further down the beach, they were part of it. The moon, the stars, everything was all part of this enormous great being. And it was just an overwhelming cosmic consciousness experience. Only lasted a few minutes, and then suddenly, I'm back to where I was. And that started me off on a quest. I mean, I was already reading lots of books on philosophy and things like that. But it started me on a definite quest to find that not just the truth, but to understand what the hell had happened to me. And I started reading books that I thought could find that out for me. And then a year or two later, again, I was researching Buddhist yoga. Tibetan yoga, I had a book on it. How you have all these different chakras and you can chant different sounds to awaken different. So I was trying, all this kind of thing. And suddenly, in my presence, there was an angel. I couldn't see it, but I could certainly feel its presence, and it sort of spoke to me and it asked me what I wanted. Just like a genie. Yeah, just like the genie of the lamp. What would you like, sir? And I said, what I want is wisdom. And it was very pleased. It said, well, that's fantastic. You've asked for that rather than asking for money or sex or power, which are what people normally ask for. We will give you wisdom. And we'll give you other things as well, but we'll give you wisdom. So that's when I understood what this whole genie idea is. It's actually that as you start to awaken, you will attract to yourself entities. Now, this is where I want to warn you, and that's why I'm doing this talk, that it's one thing to, have an angel come and speak to you, but you might end up having a bad angel come to you, or a jinn. And this is the temptation that faces people when they go on the way. And the temptation is when you take your lamp and you polish it, you think, right, well, I better get into the occult, Now, the word occult actually comes from the Latin occultus. It just means hidden. But the way it's actually interpreted, generally speaking, is magic. And magic is not a route that you want to go down. I promise you that. I knew someone who was a very powerful magician. Could hold 100 people under a spell at once. More, probably. But it did him no good at all. Right now, he's in a very sorry state. He's passed on. What you want is you need to find wisdom. And to find wisdom, the first thing you've got to comprehend is that there's nothing in this world greater than the creations of God. We can't make flowers. We can genetically play around matching, one seed with another, cross-pollinating to make different species of flower, just as we can, if we're humans, we can sleep with different races and you can have children who are hybrids of the two. But we can't actually make life. We can't actually start with just atoms and end up with a flower. And it's for a very simple reason, that a flower has the breath of life in it. And everything we do with our civilization and culture, it's good things that we do, some of it. I mean, I quite like having central heating. I quite like the fact I've got a camera and I can record a video and I can put it on the internet. It's fantastic. But this is all just hacking. It's hacking into nature, because the real nature is we're part of this one huge being. We are part of God. And we're trying to find our way back to that kind of consciousness. And the way we do that is through genuine religion. And if you haven't got a religion, you're in serious danger if you go down the occult path. Serious danger. And I see a lot of these top politicians and big bankers and all these people, they fall into the trap. And you know what the trap is? I bet you've probably bought and read some of these books about how to become rich. I have. And all they teach you is that ultimately, when you boil it down, think rich and you'll become rich. Think and grow rich. Well, maybe you will, but doesn't necessarily mean you'll be happy. And it doesn't mean it comes without cost. Everything has a price. And if you get your genie to bring you treasure and wealth, and you set your mind on that, then you're going to have to pay for that at some stage. It's much, much better for you to ask for wisdom and try to find God. Try to find your place. Because when I say find God, what you really need to find is your role. Yeah? Each of us have a destiny. And if you don't follow your stars, your destiny, yeah, find out why you're here. What is the lesson that I'm meant to learn in this life? What have I got to do to transcend this world, this physical world, physical being on this planet, to rejoin the cosmic consciousness for real? Then you're going to stay trapped here. You're going to go through life after life after life. And eventually this Earth's not going to support life anymore. What happens to you then? Where do you go? And we talked a little bit about this in some other lectures, but I just thought I would go into this in a light way here, talking about Aladdin and the lamp, and how we need to be very careful when you enter this way that your intentions are pure. You need to have purity of heart, purity of mind, if you're going to go down this path. And the best way to do that is to humble yourself before God. And if possible, to renew your connection with Jesus Christ. Who, I know you're going to think, oh God, he's a God, Bible basher. No, it's not that. I've read my Bible and it's full of prophecies, and those prophecies, many of them have come true already, and I see how other ones are coming true now. And they talk about a rescue mission that's been sent to this planet. And I'm going to tell you about an earlier version of that happened long before the Bible was written. That will be coming in later lectures. But the Jesus rescue mission is for real, and it's come here, and it's coming back here to rescue you and to rescue humanity from the trap that we're in. We're like the magician's got us down in that cave, and we haven't given him the lamp, and he's got angry and he's shut the cave, shut the door, locked us in. That's what the devil has done. The devil exists as a real intelligence. I've met the devil. A very, very dangerous person to meet. And you need to have protection. And that protection comes from being connected to Jesus Christ and his angels. That will protect you. So I'm handing you this lecture as a cautionary note and an encouragement, because it is possible for us. And we're following the way. And this is the true way. And the way to do it is through humility, through understanding our place and trying to find your destiny. And you'll be guided. Yeah, people are. So that's kind of what I wanted to say today. And I don't want to get heavy about this, but yeah, we're embarked on the path now, and I wish you well and good luck with your lives.